All right, so good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. This is going to be the 2023 pre-competition webinar for snowshoeing. There's a lot of information to share with you tonight, and we're really excited getting a lot of details solidified, and it's time to share it with you. As a reminder, this webinar is being recorded. It will be sent out over email, so no need to try to write everything down. I would highly encourage you to have a copy of this in some form and or the event guide with you on site, just so you can refer to anything that's included here, as it'll be very helpful for the games. So on the call tonight, we have Ron Freeman, our snowshoeing venue director, Trish Miles, our assistant venue director, Mike Starnowski, the VP of sports, Steve Bennett, senior director of sports and competition, and myself, Ryan Kelchner, the sport director for snowshoeing. For the agenda tonight, we went over the introductions and also welcome again. We're looking at 73 athletes and partners for the games this year. As a heads up there, we're going to go through some quick COVID protocols, jump into the schedule and events, go over the course layout, warm up and training details and times, staging, awards, some quick rule reminders. We will go through those in more detail in the preseason, so we're just going to touch on the main ones tonight. The weather and attire, families and spectators, and then there will be plenty of time at the end for your questions or any concerns to bring up. The chat is open, so feel free to put anything that comes to mind into there, and we'll try to address it in a timely manner. If we don't get to it during that particular section, we will address it by the end of the slide deck. So the purpose of tonight's meeting is just to share with head coaches all the details and information related to the games. Highlight some key changes and some processes that will occur during the games, provide info to the coaches regarding timeframes. We talked a lot about tentative. We still will talk about tentative to some degree, but much less than we have in the past. And then kind of look for your feedback from you guys for a more actionable timeframe. So at this point, I'll pass it over to Steve to go in the next couple of slides.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. So just a reminder with COVID protocol, we're still monitoring that, but as we did last spring, we just followed the guidelines from the state protocols, CDC, local jurisdictions, county jurisdictions, as well as any host facility or venue. So as of today, there are no COVID restrictions in the county or in McHenry, Deep Creek, or at WISP. So you're more than welcome to wear a mask or whatever if you would like to. That's personal preference, no problem there, but it's not a requirement. So just want to make sure everyone's on the same page there. Next, just some key reminders and updates. Again, hopefully it's not news to anyone that we're moving to WISP this year. Excited about the transition there and excited to continue our partnership with Whitetail with the on-snow training and other support that they give as well. So the time trials in several years ago, it was kind of a separate event, but it's the last couple of years we've moved that. Just a reminder that time trials is part of Winter Games, and that occurs on Sunday, and then we go into our finals on Monday and Tuesday. As far as check-in, delegations will check in the control center. That's your head of delegation, and you can chat with them if there's anything you need. But it's going to be located right there on the first floor of the hotel area in the Barnes room. I'm forgetting the room there for a second. The opening ceremony will take place at McHenry Lodge. It's connected there to all the facilities, and you'll see a slide of that in a minute, just as a reminder. And then the finals will start on Monday in the right around noonish or so. Ryan did mention the event guide. We've placed the link directly to that here on this slide. But if you go to our coaches resource page, click down on Winter Games and you can find it there. Again, a lot of good information there as well. So here's the overall big scale map coming from Eastern Maryland, heading out west on 70 to 68, and then you take 219 down to WISP. And you can see the map there. Once you take 219 down, you'll see the signs and you'll see the WISP, the ski resort as well. So just a reminder where that is. I just always program it into my GPS and I get there from that way. And then next slide is just another kind of wide view of the terrain. It shows the Alpine courses up at the top of the mountain, coming down to the base of the mountain. You'll see the snowshoeing competition venue off to your left. And it's going to be a pretty cool area, because from the McHenry Lodge, which is the building, Ryan, if you can put the cursor there on the big building. Yep, right there, McHenry Lodge. So from that decking area, you can see the snowshoeing venue and you can see Alpine, and you'll be right there close to where awards will be presented as well. So it's very conducive to have a really good atmosphere and event experience for everyone that's coming up to see it. And then we can hit the next one. Here's a close-up view of the McHenry Lodge that we were just referencing. So from this slide perspective, the snowshoeing competition will be to your right, but right there in McHenry Lodge, that's where all the meals will take place, the opening ceremony, the athlete dance, as well as the awards for both snowshoeing and alpine skiing will be in the McHenry Lodge as well. So you'll see the main entrance to the hotel to your left, in the left part of the slide. That's where the housing will be, etc. So it just kind of gives you the lay of the land here. Registration again, we'll have our coaches packets and working with the heads of delegation and head coaches. That'll be in the Barnes room, as I mentioned, and possibly there right in the lobby of the main entrance point coming into the hotel portion of WISP. We will be open because we know delegations will be traveling throughout the day. And depending on when time trials are for Alpine, etc., and then also for snowshoeing, people will be coming at different times of the day. So from 10 to 3, we'll be open there, and throughout the evening as well. That's where you'll pick up your bib numbers, your lift tickets for those who are doing Alpine skiing, and we'll also have information for the head of delegation. Work with your head of delegation. Some of them may be picking up all the packets for Alpine and snowshoeing. So just work with them to make sure you've got that figured out for your program. We have received some scratches by the deadline earlier this week, which was good. I mean, we hate to have people scratch, but we also would like to have it in a timely manner. But if there are any scratches that you know of coming up and prior to the games, please still communicate those to us. That'll help us with getting the divisioning and time trials in line and place like that. So, and you can send those scratches to the 2 individuals listed below here, Mike Sarnowski and Ryan, so that they have that information as well. Check-in process, we talked about the control center. We really highly recommend just stick your head in for the heads of delegation and possibly coaches if you just want to see if anything has happened overnight, any changes. But I know Ron, Trish, and Ryan and the rest of their team will communicate that to you at the coaches meetings. Reminder that the bibs will be the ones that are used not only for time trials, but for finals as well. So once you have those bibs to hand out to your competitors, that's the bib that they'll use for the entire winter games. We did send out an email earlier today. Hopefully most of you saw that. We had a challenge with one of our vendors with the bibs that have typically been those over the head bibs with the elastic ties. So with that being said, we will have the bibs that will be safety pinned. And Mike is going to give you an example of one of the things that we said in the email as if you wish to have one of the mock whatever, you request that on site, and that you can pin the bibs onto that so that it's not being pinned to a winter jacket and in the wind maybe rip it a little bit or whatever. We also had 1 or 2 individuals who mentioned that they have some of the older bibs that pull over their heads. I think as long as, and Mike, you may know better than me. I can't remember with
it's
those.
Not the older bibs. They have their own that they made that have their county logo on it. I believe Baltimore County, and I'm not sure the other county has.
Yeah, but there was one individual who said that they have some of the older bibs, and could they just use that one? But we need to make sure that whatever bib number you get assigned, you put on your bib.
I don't know anything of what you're talking about. The only conversation I had to do with them using and if we had the over the head bibs, cutting the bib and pinning that to their vest.
So those older bibs could possibly be used as long as our new numbers must cover that up. And you could possibly pin that to one of the old bibs if you have one of our older competitive bibs, or better yet, turn that one inside out and then put our bibs, pin our bibs that you will be issued this year to that bib. So hopefully that makes sense. But a lot of people are using like the pennies or the jerseys, like you do in basketball practice or soccer practice, and you can pin the bibs onto those as well. Additionally, parking, as we always say, just follow
just one note, Steve, for folks with that, the bibs that we have here, we got big enough that they certainly will fit over top of winter clothes, winter coats, that type of thing, and such. So I know most pennies that you would typically have would not do that. So no, these are selected, and we've got enough that if every competitor wanted one, we've got enough to do that. But we can also return any we don't use. So we don't want to use any that we don't have to. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Again, with parking, just obey the parking signs and parking attendants coming into the West property. If you do get a ticket or get towed, that's on you. So yes, and we will be providing the safety pins for pinning those bibs numbers on to whatever you choose to do so. Thank you, Larry. Okay. So I don't know if you want me to hit this one. This is kind of still the general, or Ryan, for Ryan or Ron, if you want to hit it.
I'll take care of it. It's fine. Thanks, dude. So our warm-up period, our team's going to set up starting around 9 a.m. on Sunday. Prior to the time trials, we expect to be done around noon at the latest. So there will be a warm-up period that we're anticipating for roughly 12 to 2:30. With the starting at 2:45, please make sure everybody's off the course around 2:30. And if we ask you to come off, please respect that and vacate as soon as you can there, just so we can begin. Here you do see the order of when we will be running our races. Again, as is noted at the bottom here, there is a high chance that we can condense this to some extent. And if we are ahead of schedule, which I expect we will, by eyeballing this, we will continue on. So we will start the 400-meter time trials first, go into the 50s, and then conclude with the 100 meters. So I would encourage you to have all your athletes over there by 2:15 p.m. just to ensure that nobody's missing their race. Everybody can get warmed up and get ready for the 2 hours or so that it will take to complete time trials. The winter game schedule here, Sunday, time trials date. Won't go through all these details. Again, have this on hand so you can reference it. We talked about the practice session being open at noon. We will start at 2:45. For your delegation registration, we went over that. Opening ceremony, important detail here. It will be happening in McHenry Lodge from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. Later in the night, we will have our first coaches meeting of the event on 9 p.m., which will be in the Crawford or the Morris rooms. They're basically in the main lobby. Once you go in, you go to the right, or depending on which way you go in, you might be going to the left, but there will be plenty of signage. And it's down a pretty main hallway. Both those rooms are next to each other, so there will not be any confusion once we solidify which option we will be using there. There will be an HOD meeting right after that session. I'll be in the Pine Room, which is on the second floor. Again, from that main floor, there's an elevator that will conveniently take you to any floor you would like. Looking at Monday, the first day of competition, breakfast will be open at 6. Snowshoeing practice session from 9:30 to 11:30. That's on your own. Part of my team will be over there for part of that time, but we will be over there. And plenty of time for the start of the competition at 12:15 p.m. We expect it to go roughly 4 hours max and conclude by 3:45 or so there. After the conclusion of the competition, we will have a coaches meeting, which will happen at the same venue. We will have a tent over there near the parking lot area, if not in the parking lot area. It will be visible, and we will have probably a 15-minute meeting max at the conclusion of our first day of competition. Dinner, 5:30 to 7. There is a dance. I'm sure a few of your athletes will be asking when and where that is. That's 7 to 9 p.m. in the McHenry Lodge. Again,
Ryan, can I? I'm
yes,
sorry.
of course, Ryan,
I
go
was
ahead.
just going to jump in for a second. One of the
Yeah.
reasons that we can't pinpoint exact times is we need to see the condition of WISP. So we don't know for sure how big an area we'll have, whether we'll have 4 lanes, whether we'll have 5 lanes, and how quickly competition will be done. So we will see that on Saturday morning and get an idea from the WISP operations personnel exactly what our layout's going to look like. So that's one of the reasons why we can't pinpoint an exact schedule, because we just don't know how big our area is going to be based on weather conditions.
Yep, and more detail than you need, but you might find it interesting. We plan on doing it kind of in that parking lot area. They're hoping to have some snow down there. If not, our plan will just be to move up a little bit closer to the terrain park area. Very similar grade. It'll be a great competition area no matter where we have it, all within that same area that we showed you earlier. HOD meeting Monday night, 9:15 p.m., Pine Room, same floor, same room. Looking at Tuesday here, the shortest day that we'll have, snowshoeing competition from 9:15 to 12:30, again, roughly there. We will have lunch and then we will vacate the premises, or most of us will. And lunch will be open from 11:30 to 2 p.m. in the lodge. For the time trials, so somebody from your county entered all the athletes into their events along with a certain time trial event that correlates with their event. So thank you for doing that. Coaches will have the opportunity to adjust those events following time trials based on their performance. There's probably about 8 athletes at this time that are in conflicting events. Obviously, you can still adjust those, but changes must be submitted to the main control center on Sunday, no later than 5:15 p.m. That's the cutoff time where we can begin to finalize division, which we take seriously. And there's a lot of detail that get put into that so we can ensure a fair and good couple of days of competition here. So please have all those changes in no later than 5:15 p.m. If I do not hear from you or Ron or whoever, that means that we will then be entering your athletes into the longer distance races. So for example, if we see the 50, 200, and 400, that will result in the athlete being in the 200 and 400 meter races. I'm going to pause and make sure we don't have any questions before we go on to the next ones here. As we're waiting for questions to pop up, in case there might be, as a reminder, the athletes in the 25 meter race may only enter the 50. Athletes in the 50 may only enter the 25 and 100 meter race. Athletes in the 50 meter race may only enter the 4x100 relay if they're also entered in the 100 meter race. So that's listed within rule 4.1, I believe it is, on the snowshoe rule book. If you want to learn a little bit more or refresh your memory about that as you proceed with your athletes.
Ryan, I'm multitasking, so I may have missed you answering Eva's question already.
Any chance we might start earlier than 2:45? If everybody is over there and has had a chance to warm up, I am comfortable doing so. I would like to speak to my team though before finalizing that. Maybe that's something we can talk about and get back with you in writing in the email tomorrow. Does that work for everybody?
And Scott, yeah, we have you sleeping in the McHenry Lodge, which is just a big open dining hall. So I hope you enjoy it. Actually, no, I'm not. There is the lodge, which is the or the inn portion. If you saw a reference to a lodge, that's along the slopes, and then there's the tower section, which is well, it's the tower. It's right off the lobby. So,
okay, so the picture that was shown earlier, Ryan referenced that if you look to the right of McHenry Lodge, the snowshoeing was going to be taking place. So it said the inn and stuff. So that's the hotel.
Yeah, inn and tower. The inn is also they use different terms interchangeably.
Okay. Well, I'm sure somebody will point us in the right direction. So.
Yes.
Why don't you just bring that picture back?
That's right. Yeah, actually, good. Ryan, can you back up a couple?
That's a skill I may or may not have. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, and that may also answer Ava's question. Yeah, so the inn portion of the hotel could also be considered the lodge portion. There's 3 floors there, and then over in the tower portion, there's 7 floors there.
Okay, and our coach will tell us if we're staying at the inn or the tower.
Your head of delegation probably will, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that's gone out. I'm not 100% sure to folks.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, and there, Eva,
Yep.
you can see.
Delegation lunch, Eva, 11:30 to 4 p.m. Oh, I see what you're saying. Due
Thanks,
to
I had missed it. Yeah. So,
So Eva, depending on when your athlete's first event is, I mean, they can go, a little bit later into the afternoon before having lunch and coming over, but the athletes who have the earlier events, they'll need to eat,
okay.
11:30.
Yep. As soon as we get their schedule, then we'll figure out when to send them. Thanks. I had totally missed that.
Yep. Well, and also assuming that we're at plan A or plan B, which is a very high likelihood, the lunch hall is about 20 yards away from the
Okay.
snowshoeing venue. So,
Perfect.
Yeah.
Seems like we have a great setup for us.
we do.
And Ryan, since we're talking about lunch and stuff, I wanted to circle back with you regarding the gluten-free thing. My wife was able to speak with Jane earlier this afternoon, and I have to connect with a line manager or something to make sure that Bailey is served gluten-free food.
okay.
Ryan, we also have an athlete, Vicky Schnabel, needs gluten-free too. So we'll figure out who to talk to on that.
And if I see you, I'll share the information.
That sounds great. Thanks, Scott.
And
Yep.
just like everywhere we go, the hotels, they're prepared for gluten-free, lactose, any of the basic needs that all hotels and restaurants mostly do. But yeah, WISP is fully ready for those kind of requests.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah, Katie, if you could send in, if you haven't already done so, a note to Jane about that special diet need.
I'll send her a quick email.
Okay, I was gonna say we'll do.
Oh, that's
got
right. You know Jane
it.
from Summer Games.
Yep. I'll just send Jane a quick email.
Okay.
All right, so the head coaches meeting, which we talked about briefly earlier, we'll just share updates about the day and also answer any snowshoeing competition questions that you may have. I can direct you to the Alpine meeting if you would like, but I am here for the snowshoeing meeting. It'll be around 9 p.m. after opening ceremonies, as we saw earlier, again in the Morris or Crawford room. 15 minutes if you need to plan your night is the expected time for that meeting. Again, we need to wrap that up relatively quickly before going into the HOD meeting after. For families and spectators, there will be a limited amount of space for them, but there is plenty of viewing area. We brought some little orange flags that we're going to mark off of kind of where they can stay. That's not due to social distancing rules that we were enforcing. It's solely so there's room for the competition area. We don't have to worry about anybody interfering with the competition while still allowing everybody, to the best of our ability, the option to watch the competition from as close as we can allow you while still having the athletes partners as a priority there. Please make sure that you bring your own chairs like many of you did for on snow training. There's no plan to provide those for spectators on site. So again, please make sure that you bring your chairs if you would like a place to sit during the day of the competition. Again, there is kind of a balcony area, and you can also pretty much see the competition from a lot of areas around the lodge. But if you would like to be close, there's not a lot of room to sit, so please bring a chair. The awards will be presented as each delegation or each division finishes the awards. If you are unsure whether or not an athlete will be able to make it back to their next event, please make sure that they stay. around the competition area, we of course will still honor that award and present it at a later date or a later time. But I believe typically there's plenty of time to do so. The awards venue is very close, but again, if there's any concern, please keep your athlete within the competition area so that we can keep the day rolling.
Yeah, and I missed this when I was updating the slides. So the awards, as we mentioned, will not be in the awards tent as they were at Whitetail. They will be in the McHenry Lodge. And we have another slide on awards here in a minute that we'll touch on that. But again, very short distance from the competition venue to come back into the McHenry Lodge, get staged, and have the awards presented inside the McHenry Lodge.
Yeah. For any track and field athletes, it's probably a roughly similar amount of distance, maybe a little bit longer. Delegations, please make sure that you have somebody from your delegation at the awards area just to make sure that your athlete gets there and back in a timely manner. Make sure the athlete, once they're going back to do another race, has their award taken off. We cannot race with awards. The posting of the results for the snowshoeing competition will be located on the lockers inside the McHenry Lodge. That'll be near the exit to the outside deck area. So pretty much you'll be passing that as you exit to go back to the competition area. We will be sharing the same awards area with Alpine, so please just be considerate of anybody else in there. We will award people as fast as we can, as always, but again, please be patient, and we will get you back and finish as soon as we can while still honoring everybody the best we can for their accomplishments. Going into snowshoe sizing here. Factory installed toe shoe traction claws only. Additional spikes are not okay. I didn't see any issues with that from On Snow. I also did not check every snowshoe, nor will we, but please make sure that there's not additional spikes. Foot secured directly in the mount binding. The footwear is flexible. So running shoes, hiking boots, snow boots, others. Poles are optional. Equipment and clothing is consistent throughout the competition. It needs to be the same as time trials as it is during the competition. As noted in red here, any request for the deviation from that rule must be submitted in writing prior to time trials. Without the approval from SOMD, along with my team here, the athlete is subject to disqualification. With that being said, we do have a snowshoe waiver. This is for this year. I'm not saying it will not continue in the future. In 2024, during the preseason webinar, we are going to go into this in a little bit more detail, along with providing you with other methods of purchase for some athletes that currently have smaller snowshoes, just so you know where you can access those. So again, if there's no approved waiver submitted prior to time trials, the athlete may not use smaller shoes and will be DQ'd. But looking at the guidelines here at the bottom, the 16-inch snowshoe is allowed for athletes less than 50 pounds. I don't think we have any of those. 17 to 19. We might. Okay. All right. Yeah, sure. 17 to 19-inch snowshoes is allowed for athletes 50 to 90. And then everyone else would be within the SOMD rules here. So if anybody is an exception to those guidelines, this form needs to be filled out. I will attach it in the email tomorrow and sent to both Ron and I in advance of time trials. You can hand it to us on site that morning if need be, but I ask if you can to please have that filled out and sent back over email, just so we have that in advance.
I mean, Ryan, just
yes, John.
So, I mean, I have some athletes. I raised this issue just to be fair to everybody else, because I had some, so those of you at On Snow training may have noticed some of my smaller athletes had shorter shoes. I think I don't have 16, 17, 19-inch snowshoes. I don't believe. I think their shoes that they've been practicing on are shorter. So I think under these rules, they're going to have to wear the 21-inch shoes that I have. And so I'm a little concerned about that, especially for the I think she's 11, and her feet are really small.
John, then I would encourage you to fill out this form because that would be an exception to the current rules.
Yeah. Those are just guidelines, John.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'll do it my best because I can't, they have the shoes at their house, so I can't measure them.
Yeah. I would encourage your athletes to start growing quickly in the next 3 days.
Yeah, that's good. That's a great rah-rah. I don't think it'll work. All right, I'll get the form and because I have 2 or 3 athletes with this issue.
Sure. And there might be others from other counties too. So please fill that out and get it back to us.
Yeah, we just want to protect your athletes so you don't find out on Monday afternoon that another coach has protested your athlete's shoes, and then we have to make a
No,
ruling.
that's why I brought it. I mean, I brought it up on Snow
Yep.
Training. I that's exactly what I wanted to avoid. I mean, for everybody else, I mean, they're small. They got small feet. The big shoes were falling off, and they were too big for these little people.
Yep.
And so we were looking for. I didn't have them practice on the 21 inches shoes because they weren't enjoying it, and the goal that's counter to the goal. So I could talk about it more, but I'll fill out the forms. Thank you for the process.
Yep. Thank you, John. All right, at this time, I will pass it over to the expert competition director, Ron, here to go through the next couple slides.
Okay, the rules here, I'm going to go pretty quickly on these rules. They are the same as what we've had in the past. We anticipate a straightaway for up to 100 meters, and hopefully we'll be able to have a 200 meter curve for the races longer than 100 meter. So we don't expect any of the shorter races, 25, 50, or 100 to wind up on a curve, and anything else 200 and above, we'll use a waterfall start. We'll use a 2 command start, racers ready and go. And the tips of the snowshoes need to be behind the starting line. Next slide.
Yes, if there's any hearing impaired athletes, just so we know in
sorry.
advance. No, you're fine, Ron. Just please let me know in advance so we can have that horn accessible in case we do need to use that.
You had a slight vision impaired old man trying to read this off my computer, and
It was pretty small.
Didn't see that font.
All right, next slide here.
Okay, 2 false starts or DQs, same as the track. We generally don't have this as an issue. We will, be cognizant of wind or any other conditions which might cause an athlete to move just a little bit. But we do expect our athletes to be reasonably still when the race starts. Next slide. I'm trying to see this is I apologize for this slide. This is probably the one that we've used at WISP for time trials, and this may not be the case. We'll know for sure when we set up the course or when we look at the venue. I expect and hope that our time trial layout will be just that will be for the competition itself, with 100 meters straightaway or very, very close to it, and a 200 meter loop for anything else. So we expect the 50 and 100 both to be straight, and the 400 not to be an out and back, but 2 times around the 200 meter loop. Next slide. Pacing. We just want to remind the coaches to remind your the families of your athletes that especially for the straightaway races, we just do not allow pacing of an athlete or running with an athlete to encourage them. We will do our best to get everybody from time trials into the competition, so that they don't get DQ'd there and are able to compete for a medal or participation ribbon during the games. But again, we do not allow pacing with an athlete up and down the straightaways. Finish line, the athlete has finished his competition when his torso, not the tips of his shoes, has crossed the finish line. And our athletes need to be wearing both snowshoes on their feet, not in their hands, when they cross the finish line. Disqualifications, improperly overtaking or impeding another competitor, preventing another competitor from passing, leaving the course, or making 2 false starts. what we do at the track and what we will do on the snowshoe venue is empower our management team to judge whether an athlete has impeded another athlete. That's what they're there for. If you see an impede and either you or a parent or a family member takes a video of that, that's not going to be a deciding factor in judging a protest. We will be using the judgment of the people at the start line, people at the finish line who are watching the race, and also our track marshals to determine any impedes. Other disqualifications, 2-minute rule, an athlete must advance 20 meters within 2 minutes, progressing more than 3 meters without both snowshoes attached to the feet. And like we said earlier on the previous slide, crossing the finish line without both snowshoes on their feet. And then the final, receiving physical or verbal assistance at any time before they crosses the finish line. Mostly physical. The verbal assistance, cheering on your athlete or encouraging them to move forward, is not something that we will be disqualifying for. But receiving physical assistance, either from a coach, a family member, or another athlete who's running the race. Protests, a little bit different than the track. Only the head coach can, from a delegation, may file a protest. We will be posting the results, and I think I can't remember the exact time, whether it's 20 minutes or 30 minutes from the time the race has completed to filing your protest. And the last thing there, and the course layout and schedule may be adapted based on the conditions. And we haven't heard this term before, but these conditions and everything is fluid, and hopefully not literally fluid, but figuratively fluid. That depending on what we can and can't do in terms of number of lanes and how wide the course is and how big we can make our loop, we'll make adaptations based on the conditions and get that information out to the coaches as quickly as we know it. Coaching, I'm not going to read through this. For example, coaching your athlete during the course in terms of getting the inner corner of the lane. Hopefully you've coached them before the race starts, for the 200 and longer races, to be closer to the inside as opposed to the outside. We will be marking the course not with the loop, not with food color like we sometimes have, but with cones, so that it's much more visible for your athletes and for the coaches to know where we are. Encourage your athletes, either in practice sessions before the competition before time trials on Sunday, or in practice sessions on Monday, to run to the inside. It's a shorter distance, the closer you are to the cones. Next slide. Consequence of coaching. You all can read through it. I'm not going to read through it, but just be cognizant, not only for you guys as coaches, but family members, because as far as we as officials are looking at it, a family member coaching is their athlete is no different than a coach coaching an athlete. Next slide. As I said before, sort of the same thing. Family member, any member of delegation providing coaching is the same as head coach, assistant coach providing that same coaching. Protest forms, we'll have that at the control center. I'm not 100% sure. We're going to have a control tent close to the competition area, depending on conditions. That may be down a little bit of an incline or close to the competition where you'll be able to pick up your protest forms. And here it is in black and white, 30 minutes following the posting of the result. And we'll put the time that the results are posted on the form itself, so you know. The Snowshoeing Committee will meet and address the protest. We'll talk to start line, finish line, track marshals or snowshoe marshals, whoever we need to talk to. But as I say before track meets and for this, if you're questioning the judgment of a marshal or start line or finish line, that's going to be a hard protest for us to uphold. If you're questioning the rules and whether the rules have been met, that's an easier judgment call, or some significant difference between time trial time and event time. We'll look at that, but this is a little bit different than the track because weather conditions between Sunday and Monday or Sunday and Tuesday might significantly change an athlete's ability to move fast, move slow. So we will use our best judgment in terms of your protests. If we rule against your athlete and you would like to file an appeal, use that same form, protest form, and submit it to, I'm not sure what the name of that committee is, the Rules Committee or the Winter Games.
Yep, Games Rules Committee.
Games Rules Committee, headlined by, who knows, Steve, Mike. I'm not sure who's exactly on that committee, yep. But you certainly have another option if we on the Snowshoe Committee rule against your athlete on that protest to move that up the chain.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you, Ron. I'll hit the next couple of slides here. So food services. Just a reminder there that there will be a line in the McHenry Lodge where Scott Mewaney will be staying and sleeping. That will be designated for credentialed members only. So you must have your credential to go through the breakfast, lunch, and dinner lines that are provided for Special Olympics. There will also be a separate area where general public and spectators and families can go and eat, but they will not be going through that line or eating in the McHenry Lodge. We are looking at some shifts, which will be notified, or your head of delegation at least will be notified on Sunday going into the opening ceremony and the welcome reception from the Chamber of Commerce there in Garrett County. The social dance and on Monday night is in the McHenry Lodge, and there will be a possibility to look for some assistance after dinner to move some tables and chairs around, leading in from dinner into the dance, just to make sure that we have some good space for everyone to participate and have a good dance session. One thing there, as we talked about, there may be some shifts. The other thing is, please make sure that family members are not hanging out with the delegations during the meals. There is limited seating. We want to make sure everybody gets in and gets out, and that people are not hanging out at the dining table. So get your food, get seated, eat it, clean up after yourselves, and then leave the table so the next people can come and have their lunch there. The other thing is, like I said, families will have the option to purchase some meals around WISP and in the local restaurants and all that kind of stuff, but they will not be able to sit with you guys. Okay, that's any family member who's not an official part of your delegation with a credential. A lot of good places to go and some good places there at the resort as well. But as we mentioned, must have your credential on to access that line for your meals. And just a reminder, lunch is not provided on Sunday. So make sure you have your lunch, either you bring it with you or eat on the way or whatever. But lunch was not included in the meal package on Sunday. Okay. Special events, we talked about the opening ceremony. Like I said, the welcome back reception from the Chamber of Commerce in Garrett County and other members of the community, that'll be right at 7 o'clock leading into the opening ceremony. So that's open to the public and some really good community leaders, and we really want to have a good showing there. So get to dinner, help us clean up and rearrange, and then be there to join the community and welcoming Special Olympics back to Garrett County and to WISP. The theme of the dance is the Academy Awards. So we'll have some little cool things happening at the dance, but dress up as your favorite movie or just your glitz and glamour or whatever. Up to you if you want to do that. There will be a quieter room available in the McHenry Lodge in back one of the corners for anybody who wants to take a break from the noise or activities or wherever else. And again, like we talked about, the awards ceremony will take place in the McHenry Lodge, same place as you're having your meals, same place as opening ceremony, same place as the dance for both snowshoeing and alpine. So as Ryan mentioned earlier, just be patient. We do have 2 award stages, but we have 1 PA system, 1 announcer because of the location. So we'll try to work through that as quickly as possible, but I know we've got a veteran crew that's doing the award ceremony. So as long as people get there right after a competition, get staged, we have the results, we'll do them as quick, but also as respectfully as possible. Like I talked about in the McHenry Lodge, there's a little room in the back that's the whispers room. That'll be that quieter, not quiet room, but quieter room during the dance for anybody who wants to take a break from the noise or whatever. We will have some board games and things of that nature, but it'll be a quieter place. It won't be completely quiet, but a lot quieter than the big room. There's a swimming pool at Wisp as well. That will not be available during our stay there to anybody associated with Special Olympics. There is a family hospitality area, and that's designated for the family members who really aren't part of your delegation, if you will, like spectators and supporters. But it's not for athletes and partners to go up and doing that type of thing as well. Because there's limited refreshments and those are reserved for those family members. We want to give the families a good hospitality area. We're thinking that will be in the Morris room. Pretty sure that's where that location will be. And that is going to be only on Monday from about 10 to 3 p.m., 3:30-ish, give or take. Okay. There'll also be some merchandise for sale and things like that. And then we'll move the merchandise down to the dance as well. Conditions, it was very warm here today, very pleasant here in the Baltimore area. But we are continuing to work with WISP and their management. They sent us an email today that everything is still looking good and a go. They know it was warm, but they're also expecting some cool weather moving in and hopefully being able to make snow, move snow, and get everything in tip-top shape for our events. But as Ron mentioned, if there are any course changes or decisions, those will be made on Saturday, possibly Sunday morning, depending. But you guys will all be communicated upon arrival or possibly before arriving if there are any changes. But we don't anticipate that, but Mother Nature may not cooperate completely. So, but we're looking good for now. Here's kind of the weather that we're looking at. It's being reported about 25 to 39 degrees throughout the days that we're there. Could get a little rain, maybe some snow, and then the winds 10 to 18 miles an hour. So that can be quite brisk. So just again, as we always say, be prepared for all weather conditions. Layer up. You can take some of your layers off if it gets warm or whatever else. But it's good to have those layers and have the equipment and the attire that you need for any of those weather conditions. And again, remind your athletes, partners, and each other to stay hydrated. Push the liquids, push the fluids. We do it to ourselves from the staff and management perspective, because when you're on the go as a head coach or a volunteer or whatever, you sometimes forget about taking care of yourself. So remind each other, hey, go grab a bottle of water or get a quick drink. Okay. Just want to make sure everybody's having a good time and stays safe. As far as medical goes, for snowshoeing, we will have an individual over at the course providing medical coverage. For Alpine, it'll be the ski patrol up on the hills. We also will have medical personnel staying overnight in the hotel. And we will share that room number and that contact information at the coaches meetings and with the HODs as well. Just a reminder, if there is a true emergency overnight or something like that, you can call 911 first, and then you can locate the individuals in the hotel. But we want to get that ball rolling, especially if there's a challenge with your phone coverage or something of that nature. You know, knock on a door, get 911 called. We just want to make sure everybody's taken care of. And ski patrol is located in the snowshoeing area as well. So there'll be some ski patrol over there helping out as well. Okay. The evaluation survey, as we do with all of our state level events, we want to have feedback and gather recommendations, suggestions, or just general feedback from not only you as coaches, athletes, partners, family members, volunteers, our own management personnel, our own staff. But so the links here, please, as soon as you're done with the winter games, as soon as you get home or on your way home or whatever, take the time to fill that out. The longer you wait, the less you'll remember, as far as anything you'd like to see changed, anything you had questions about, things that you liked, so that we would continue to do those as well. So we want both the good feedback and feedback on things that may need to be changed or you'd like to see changed. The one thing we also ask on that is if you do see something you didn't like or you want changed, it's really helpful if you have a suggestion, because we've got a lot of great people on our management and staff, but we don't think of everything. So just don't say, I didn't like this. Say, I didn't like this, and here's my suggestion on what you guys may want to do in the future. That gives us an idea and some suggestions as we move forward to continue to better every event for the athletes and the overall experience of everyone involved. You also see, as we always push, our coaches resource page. A lot of information is provided there. Ryan and Elizabeth, for both their sports, as well as Mike Sarnowski, have been making sure that's been updated with the webinar slides, with other information, with rules, with the event guide, things of that nature. A lot of questions could be answered from that coaches resource page. So don't hesitate to continue check back there. Again, similar to the feedback for the evaluation of the event, if there's something that you think should be on the coaches resource page that's not, let us know. We want to make that website and that avenue as much as possible to any user and updated with the information to make it easier for anybody checking out on things. As we mentioned about the dinner, not just in the dinner, but in your rooms, etc., anywhere on the property, make sure we're cleaning up after ourselves. We want to respect WISC. We want to be welcomed back to WISC, and we also want to represent ourselves and our organization in the best manner. I can't tell you how many times I've been at events where people say, man, you guys are awesome. Look at this place. It's spotless. That's the reputation we want to have. So thank the volunteers as well. You guys know, as coaches, a lot of times a simple thank you is what people want to hear, and that just gives them that recognition that maybe they'll come back, maybe they're coming up and being a next coach, maybe they want to continue volunteering at our events or in the local community or whatever else. And don't forget to thank the WISP staff as well. They'll be working tirelessly to keep up with us and providing us the accommodations. So and I'm looking at your question, John, where will delegation sit during the competition? That will be, if you're talking about over at the snowshoeing course, as Ryan mentioned.
Yeah, there's a lot of sitting around in between races. And so we all find a spot to camp out. I was one at the last, when you had the early call, you were talking about when it was in another location. Yep. You were talking about a tent and stuff, but you haven't covered any of that in this presentation.
Yeah, no, there'll be the outside deck areas available. There's other places on WISP. There's the yurts in a cafeteria area up there where families can hang out.
I'm asking about the delegation. So the yurts are on the other side of the building, so that's not going to.
Yeah, John, the McHenry Lodge, which has a large open space, and it is literally, again, 20 yards, maybe a little more, but right there. Yeah.
Well, if that's the answer, then that's the answer. That's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry if it came off as whatever. No, it's really close. It's one of those things. Once you see it, you'll get it's. I don't know that we could ask for anything better.
Yeah.
In
It's
terms
just
of the layout,
during those
going
and
in to
just-
get warm.
Yeah, just during those meal times, that's when we just want to not hang out in there. But yeah, it's really big space, and we talk.
Well, that's so lunch overlaps with snowshoeing. So having the teams set up, put their chairs up and set up in there. I mean, normally what happens is everybody gathers. They all have folding chairs. They take a spot where they all sit together, whether that's in the cat garage or somewhere out in the parking lot when we were at WISP. And I'm just trying to figure out what to tell people to do, because each county tries to set up that little sort of base where their athletes go back to after they finish their races. The one thing I'm worried, as Mike was just saying about, or you said about clearing out for lunch, we only have 45 minutes from, the lunch and the beginning of snowshoeing overlaps the after lunch.
Mhm.
And so I'm maybe I'm not thinking this through clearly, but I'm seeing if families have camped out in there and then they all have to get out so that people can eat lunch, and then I'm trying to imagine how that's supposed to work, because we never had that kind of movement in the past.
I'll tell you, when we're there and on Friday and Saturday, we'll work out whatever on that, and we'll have an answer for you for the coaches meeting on Sunday night.
Well, we'll probably end up answering it as soon as time trials start, be my guess, because people will be going somewhere.
Sure.
So may figure it out ad hoc. That's what I was trying to understand.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had someone in my office that I need to take care of something here. My apologies. So I didn't hear the whole thing, but I think we've got some things taken care of there.
I think we're going to figure it out on Sunday.
Yep. And we've got, here's the contacts for individuals. Anything winter games, general operations, you can contact me. And I can also be a backup for Alpine, as Elizabeth Kramer will not be with us, as well as Melissa Anger helping out with Alpine. And then obviously Ryan with snowshoeing. And again, our coaches resource page, there's a link for that as well. And I think that's the end of my portion. And I'll turn it back to you, Ryan.
There's one group of people we did not thank, but we did talk about thanking everybody else. Thank you all very, very much for all your work this season. It takes everybody working together. Obviously, with the new venue this year, there's been a lot of patience on your end, work from the management team, work for you guys for pushing to us to make us provide you the details that you need to be successful during these days. So I hope that your athletes have a great experience. I know that we are thrilled and really looking forward to it, getting back to WISP here and providing everybody the best experience that we can. The best way to contact me is going to be through a phone call. So I will not be at my computer for the full day tomorrow. I'll be on the road traveling and then set up on Saturday. So please make sure you call me with any questions or concerns you have outside of the email of that form that we talked about earlier with the shoe exemption. With that, I just want to say one final thank you. And I will leave it open for questions for another 2 minutes here or so, and then I will give you back the rest of your night. As a reminder, this will be sent out tomorrow, both the recording and the slide deck.
Tomorrow, not tonight. Oh,
No, I think I want to go home. I think it's time.
not tonight. I was gonna listen to it again and see if any updates.
Well, the good thing is you can listen to it as many times as you want, starting tomorrow.
You having trouble sleeping, Elizabeth? You need.
Oh no, it's not on the record.
I give you a thank you and you tell me that I put you to sleep. So I guess that's good.
Thank you guys.
Oh, she didn't. Mike's the one inferring that.
I just asked the question. I
Hey.
didn't imply anything. I just asked the question.
Part of my job.
Thank
However I can help
guys.
you.
Have a good night.
All right.
Thank you.
We will close it out. Thank you all very much. Have a good rest of your night.
Okay, good night.
Permission to go to the bathroom.
Good job.
And